the guys, instead of doing super chats, they have to come on camera, and we'll stop the whole show and be like, bro, because they're shaking the camera. And when we talk about interviews, I teach guys how to do interviews as well. A lot of these interviews are done over Zoom, and I'm like, you're gonna face the light, okay? This camera's gonna be still. I want you to maintain eye contact with the camera. I want to be able to hear spaces in between the words that you say. Watching yourself on camera, I know it comes off as a little vain, but you'd be shocked how many times there's these weird tics that you have that you don't notice. You're thinking about something and you squint your eyes like this, and it's just these things that like really don't make it seem like you're in control. Now, like what he said, I have so many clients that I'm used to seeing men like this, and so I'm going to give you a break. But in this instance, this is such a great, being able to watch yourself on camera and critique yourself and then consistently get better. You two do it whether or not you know you do it. You watch yourself on stream all the time.
Especially in the beginning, I did it. I did it to like, in the beginning a lot to like make sure like, oh, okay, this is weird. I should stop doing that, blah, blah, blah. Like I caught bad habits very quickly, but some of you guys might not have that benefit to watch yourself back. So it's definitely, that's a fantastic way to do it.
Actually, being able to talk well on camera is a great way, a cheat code to be. It's almost like the current Toastmasters to be able to do it now. And it's just so incredibly important to do that. A lot of like the head moving and like the voice breaks upward. So like the tonality breaks upward where you sound like you're seeking rapport instead of breaking rapport. Those kind of things you can learn over time. The verbal pauses, the the ah, the you know what I mean, you know what I'm saying, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you can get away from that and then speak and then have the direct pauses in between your words, you'll notice that people are more likely to listen to you. Do you remember the Joe Rogan thing where they were talking to a mugger, a guy who'd been convicted of mugging, and they showed him photographs of individuals and like which one would you mug and which one would you not mug? And it was one of these things where like the knees were locked out, the feet were pointed like this, and sort of like the wobbly duck walk that you find with a lot of people. When guys see that, they realize this person can't chase me if I steal something from them. And it's really interesting as men, you're constantly being judged on like your upper and lower body athleticism. And this is something that like women don't necessarily, if women are clumsy and they're hot, we don't really care. But when men are like that, you're always being judged on the way you walk. Does it look athletic? When you talk, does your voice break when you're around someone you think is higher status? Does it go up like this? When you talk to women, does it go up like this? When you're trying to seek rapport from them? Or when you talk to the most beautiful woman you've ever seen or your brother, does your voice sound exactly the same? If it does, that means you're not affected by it, which is an attribute of a high status person.
I think one of the most underrated things that guys should master is tonality.
Yes.
I'm like, you speak in the passive voice, you need to stop doing that. You need to start speaking more in the active voice. You need to start almost, especially when you talk to women. Women respond very favorably to this. You need to tell them versus asking them.
Yes.
You need to speak from a more authority standpoint where it's like, all right, we're going to do this. Hey, let's do this, blah, blah, blah. Versus like trying to get her permission or what she thinks or whatever. And the reality is most girls, if you say it in a convincing manner, they're going to follow along, even if they might not necessarily agree with it all the way.
It's amazing when you just sound like you know what you're doing, how they just follow along.
Questions put it in her frame, that's why.
I recommend Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. Chapter 7 goes over these 10 tonalities that he uses. One of them is called absolute certainty. That is the one salespeople use and the one often you can use with women.
I mean, if you ask girls what they're doing right now, they say, oh, I'm just going with the flow. So if you can lead the flow, you win.
Yeah.
That's very true.
They prefer to go with the flow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but yeah, guys, I mean, the tonality, that's a big one. So we know that women like confidence, ambition, protector of loved ones, being funny,
leader
all these
of men,
different
protector
leader
of
men.
one ones, what's it? Willingness to walk away, willingness to emote, and I forgot what the last one was.
If you're able to sit there and deal with 7 fucking bimbos, right, and be able to keep them all entertained, etc.
Women.
Bimbos. Right? What ends up happening is you go to a boardroom meeting, fucking easy mode.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to get this funding, blah, blah, blah. And bam, from that skill set of, talking to girls and opening a set and not being nervous, I was easily able to go in there and talk to, 50 agents that are in there, right? Higher ups, by the way, because I'm trying to get funding from FBI, DEA, etc., because it's a whole government thing, OCDF. You guys can look it up, OCDF program. And you're getting this funding from DOJ. So you need to be able to speak in a convincing manner and know what the fuck you're talking about. And then on top of that, you need to be able to answer their questions. It made it easier for me to speak with, high-ranking officials in the U.S. government.
Immersion, because it's harder. Like the reason why we do what we do in my program is because it's more stimulants. It's really, if you can bench press 300 pounds, you can bench press 200 pounds. So when you do the meetup for all the real estate agents in your city, you just dealt with a bunch of girls. Like it's so much fucking easier to deal with this. To your point about the pickup artists, one of the issues was when a lot of the guys, they had approach anxiety. And so what they did was they refused rejection instead of accepting rejection. And this is where guys got very weird and started freaking girls out.
They lack the social skills, and that's really where game is at right now. And so I made sure that I introduced that in the introduction of the player's handbook, because game it's social skills. It's a social skill set is what it is. So it's not even just about so much like talking, I mean, obviously guys want to talk to women and be good conversationalists, but as you were saying before, it teaches you other skills so you can get a job. So you can like talk to, a police officer, so you can talk to your family, whatever it is, just so that you have those social skills. And I think that one of the things that's happened really for the, the Generation Z, the Zoomers, right? Yeah. Is that because they've been acculturated and brought up behind a screen, they don't have that immersion anymore, so that they're learning those social skills that you would necessarily pick up from previous generations. So when he's talking about like how people think that it's ridiculous to talk about like neg hits or like amuse mastery or some of these old school principles, that was one of the motivations, the incentives for me to write the 5th book, because I wanted to let people know that there's a lot of psychology that's behind all of this that seems like, oh, it's ridiculous. Well, that would never work on me. No, it would work on you, and here's why it would work on you, because there's psychological principles that are behind that. Yeah. You just don't have those skills. So like when you were talking about how you guys have been on these shows and you're better speakers, you're better able to interact publicly. I'm a better speaker, a better public speaker today than I was when I was working with Pat Campbell back in 2018. Yeah. And he was my mentor, right? So I learned a lot along the way. Yeah, rest in peace. I learned a lot from him. And so like I knew all the red pill stuff. I had it all down, how to deliver it and how to be a good conversation, how to tell stories about it. Because storytelling is a human need. Like we need to hear stories from people. That's how we understand like our surroundings. We pass on them for how we've done it, throughout history.
It's how people were entertained before TV and books
it's also also how we taught the next generation what we knew from the previous generation as well. So we would have these, folk tales and everything else, or it could be just cave drawings, like here's how we killed the woolly mammoth.
Even in the Bible, there are parables to display certain things you want to learn.
So storytelling is like part of human nature. And if you are unable to do that, or if you're unable to be entertaining, but if you're unable to at least be a good conversationalist, because that's really all social skills you rely on, is really being able to tell stories really well and to tell them accurately, quickly, concisely. But there's actually storytelling competitions. Like it's almost like, cowboy poetry, but it's like storytelling jams. Okay. And you have between 8 and 12 minutes to tell a story. And then the audience judges you, and then they have like a panel of like 6 judges who will say who's the best storyteller. Wow. And it's you, and there's a process to it. There's like, it's layered on, like here's what usually works. It's got to be funny, but if it's funny, it's got to be sad. And if it's sad, then it's got to be funny kind of thing. So there's this ups and downs that go along with it. There's almost a science to telling a good story. Yeah. And doesn't necessarily have to be about you personally. It could be about giving a sales dissertation or something like that, but you just have to be able to deliver information in an entertaining way that sticks with people, and it's usually through storytelling.
Yeah.